Jerry Connolly of Virginia.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Welcome, Madam Ambassador. Glad to have you here today. You indicated that the budget was making a point more than it was a serious intention in and of itself. What point was being made by zeroing out funding for UNICEF, an organization highly praised, had a lot to do with saving millions of children's lives around the world with child nutrition programs, rehydration programs for diarrheal diseases, and the like, highly lauded, not political. Why would we zero it out? What point was being made in that budget?
So I think that what you saw in the budget was it was trying to put the UN on notice. It wasn't about the specific organizations as much as it was putting them on notice. I can tell you that I have seen UNICEF in action when I went to Jordan and Turkey, and to see the schools and what they do is highly valuable. I believe I'm a conduit between what the president's budget did and where you end up. So I'm happy to give any information on what's working, what's not working, or what I see as valuable.
Madam Ambassador, I've been doing budgets up here and in my local government for over 30 years. When you zero something out, you're not making a point. You're making a profound statement and judgment about the value of that enterprise. To zero out UNICEF seems to me to be something that is not a particularly proud value that Americans would uphold.
Well, I can tell you that as governor, I also had a budget, and an executive budget very much is a conversation point. It's a starting point, and then you work with your legislature to bring those two together. And so I think what you have is that the president was trying to make a point to build up our military. Yes, it ended up going to where it had certain cuts there.
I don't think you want to go there.
I'm sorry?
I don't think you want to go there. So the president was making a point, we need to build up our military, and people who need to pay the price for that are children around the world who are at risk of malnutrition?
I know that that having conversations with the president on this budget and where Congress ends up, there is working room. There is room where I know that he would want to support UNICEF.
You're a loyal member of the administration. Good for you. Zeroing out UNICEF makes no sense to me, and it's not making a point. You said members up at the UN are just so glad we're, quote, leading again, unquote. Are those the same members who have condemned President Trump's ripping up of the TPP and renouncing the Paris Agreement? I'm looking at some close allies, some of whom are members of the Security Council, like France and not Germany, but Germany, certainly weren't praising America's leadership on those things.
Well, I can tell you, again, as a governor, with that Paris Agreement, the number of regulations it put on our businesses, the number of things it did with me trying to recruit international companies and how that—
I wasn't asking that question, Master. I'm sorry,
No,
I only have 5 minutes. My question was whether your colleagues at the UN were praising those decisions as that's America leading again. I'm quoting your words.
The U.S. has to make decisions that are in the best interest of the U.S. It is not in the best interest for our businesses or our industries. We are not going to throw the climate out the window. We're going to continue to manage that.
I'm glad to hear that.
You may not agree with how we manage that, but I will tell you that I think what the president did was in the best interest of businesses, and it was in the best interest of the country, and that does not mean we are not going to be good stewards of the climate.
That would come as news to a lot of big businesses that endorsed it.
We don't want China and Russia telling us how we need to handle our climate. I think that it's very much—
excuse me, we helped initiate the Paris Agreement. They didn't put a gun to our heads at all.
But it didn't go through the Senate, and it didn't get passed.
Well, it's a proud moment that we're joining 2 other countries in the international community, Nicaragua and Syria.
We're being
independent. It must be a proud moment.
We're being independent.
Can I ask you, finally, what instructions have you been given about Russia? Presumably you talked to your Russian counterparts about Syria, right?
I talked to my Russian counterparts about a lot of things.
But not their interference with U.S. elections. That's off limits.
I mean, what would you want me to say to them? I'm at the UN. We're working on international issues. I have made it public that I do believe they interfered with our elections. I've also said we can't have any country interfere in our elections, and I stand by that.
I understand, but you now hold a very important diplomatic position. at the United Nations. The Russians are at the United Nations. We talk about a panoply of issues, as you just indicated. But why wouldn't we, have you received any instructions at all with respect to their meddling in our elections? Like, don't talk about that, Ambassador Haley.
It hasn't come up.
It's never come up.
At the United Nations.
No, I'm talking about from Washington. Have you received instruction from the State Department? Don't talk about that.
No.
Any instructions at all about it?
None. I have said what I've said. I've been on the record, and no one has said you're out of line. No one has said don't do anything. I mean, what I appreciate is this administration does not tell me what to say or what not to say. They allow me to say what I think, and they support me through that.
Thank you.
Go to